Hi, everybody. I am Sheri St Marie, and I want to thank you for joining us today for my first ever broadcast. And I have an amazing, perfect guest for this, which I will get into. But today we're going to talk about mountain climbing soulmates. And so I'm super fortunate, actually, to have my firstborn child. So Katie Fermanich is an amazing woman, and I'll come back to an introduction, but just going to give a little bit of shout out. And I also have my youngest child, moderating and producing on the side. So super cool family opportunity. My son is also upstairs. All three of my UW Badgers are online learning now because it's April of 2020. So let me back up and just say, I'm Sheri St Marie. I actually have been an entrepreneur for a long time. I'm a professional speaker, master's level teacher, real estate broker, and just love playing with life and doing all kinds of exciting things. So that is me. And I want to introduce you to Katie, who is an amazing, strong woman who's done incredible things so far. And that's why I wanted to share this with you today.
Yeah, so like my mom said, I'm Katie, her oldest daughter, and I am currently in the School of Pharmacy at UWMADISON. So I did 3 years of undergrad at UWMADISON, doing my prerequisite coursework. And then they actually allow you to go early if you finish all of those classes. And so that's what I did. I spent 3 years in undergrad, and now I'm in my second year of the pharmacy school program, which is a 4-year degree program. And at the end, I'll come out with a doctorate. So I'm super excited to be doing that, especially at UW-Madison, which is one of the best schools in the nation for pharmacy. And at the end, I'm hoping to practice in the hospital pharmacy. I haven't quite picked a specialty yet, but I like oncology and substance abuse recovery, things of that nature. So we'll see as it goes along.
That is Katie Fermanich, both, professionally, academically, and whatever. Let me back up just for a second. So what we're going to do today is just show and share kind of how our family and our relationship, and particularly Katie and I, do things together. But the one piece that just shows a part of a mountain she climbed was she got through undergrad at UW-Madison in 3 years. And so why don't you share with them how that was possible for you? Just in terms of tenacity and thinking and different opportunities when you're climbing a mountain.
Yeah, so I'm sure mom remembers this, but when I was a little girl, I had a financial planning sheet where my first goal was to help pay for college and get through college. And so in high school, I took a lot of AP courses and CAP credit courses. So I went into college with 41 credits from high school already. So that was a big major help for me. And mom loves that as well. So that was part of it. And then it was a lot of planning and just making sure that I could achieve this goal that I set out to accomplish of finishing early, saving a year of tuition, which is a ton of money in the end. And so, yeah, it was just basically checking in with myself every so often and making sure I was on track with the things I needed to do. But yeah, it really started back in elementary school and then in high school, and you just have this goal in your head and you just want to make sure you're staying on track to keep accomplishing what you set out to do.
Awesome. So one of the things I want to share right away is just, obviously she's my daughter. And so a lot of people have this attitude of like the parent is the authoritarian director, right? And I can do that. And I did do that for parts of our life. But what's cool about Katie and I from a soulmate perspective is, gosh, when she was a little kid, she was so driven. And had her own ideas about things and is headstrong, but also like super creative and all this great stuff. And so my children have taught me as much as I've taught them. That's the super cool part. So I can remember when Katie was 3 and she would get something in her head and like you could not talk her out. She was doing it. Like that was it. Didn't matter what I said, she was going to do this thing. And that's just a piece of her tenacity, which we'll talk about later. But what was cool for both of us as we both grew older was the fact that we were able as a mother and daughter team to be able to realize she and I both just have a drive to climb mountains. And anybody who's like that just knows it's not something that you can kind of just get out of yourself. There's some fire in your belly about what it feels like to get up a mountain and climb a mountain. And that part is super cool for us. We've been able to help each other. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, but I think that's what's kind of cool about this opportunity. So she and I are both very tenacious about a lot of things that may or may not make sense to other people. So I don't know if you want to share anything about yourself or myself about being tenacious that might help people just in their thinking or examples or things like that.
No, I don't have enough time.
You don't have top of my head. So I'll take the softball back.
Yeah, you can go.
So here's her. Also, she's a softball player, was. And so one of the things about Katie being tenacious is, you know, she played sports all through school. And during softball, man, if there was a game that needed to play, this kid is just tough. And we were at one point during play where her appendix almost burst. And we ended up at UW Hospital, which is also where she works now. And the surgeon said to me, "Oh my gosh, you've got an amazing, tough, tenacious kid there. Like this was ready to burst." And she was just worried about letting her teammates down and not showing up for athletics. And so I wonder kind of what was going through your mind at that time and how you feel about it now with your decision to play that long and whatever else. And how does that help you today?
Well, I just think that it was kind of in the back of my mind. Like I was in pain a little bit, but it wasn't my primary focus. I was focused on the game and focused on, like you said, my teammates and being a good team member, not wanting to let other people down. So I think those were bigger focus points for me than anything that was personally going on internally with me. I was more focused about the people that I would be affecting and the people that looked to me as a leader, looked to me for what I would do in certain situations. And I felt that, you know, whatever it is, whether it's your emotions, if you're having a bad day or something like that, it's you being able to take those emotions and realize that they're temporary and really focus on what your primary goal and role is on your team or in the community and stuff like that. So.
Awesome. So there's just a little peek. And if you try to train that out of somebody like that, it doesn't work. So I think a lot of times tenacity is it's really a cool celebrated thing. We were fortunate, obviously, because she was able to have surgery. She was perfectly fine. We weren't horrid parents, but the tenacity to be able to just continue, I think is also super cool right now. That's why she and I both agreed to just step up and do this so you can see some tenacious pieces. Like our first response right now is this isn't stopping us. We have an amazing opportunity to help share and show and demonstrate how to do some of these pieces. So that is cool. Another thing that she and I both have is being incredibly driven. And our goals or mountains have changed over time. You know, certainly from when she was little to what she's doing today or wants to do today. But I think that drive is a whole big piece. And I know for Katie, it's one of the things that certainly people talk about who know her and also her friends and things like that. And so do you feel like the drive is more just your internal piece, or are you doing skill development and things to help you maintain your drive?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, there's definitely, I have an idea in my head of the person I want to be and the things that I want to contribute to this world. So there is that big picture focus there. But then I do try to identify pieces that I need to work on and things like that. In high school, I used to be the most shy kid ever. I did not talk a lot at all. And I realized that
her mom's only laughing because until she was 4, all I kept saying to her is, "Speak up, Katie. Speak up, Katie. It's okay." And now look at this.
Yeah, and now I've realized that it is really important to be able to talk to people, to be able to relate to people on all sorts of levels and different things that they care about and you care about. And so I think it is, you know, a lot of self-reflection, and especially, which is great to do in a time like this where the world's a little slow right now. It's a great time for self-reflection and things that you might need to focus on to achieve your goals and be the kind of person you want to be. So I think, yeah, it definitely helps to have that big main goal to focus, but it's nice to chunk it down and see the steps of how am I actually going to get there? What can I actually do today to put me in a better spot? So
that's awesome. And how Katie helps me as one of my soulmates mountain climbing is I tend to be more of the passion, inspiration, you know, drive, get up and go every day, right? And sometimes she's incredibly helpful because she is more logical lots of times and stepped out, where she'll say to me, you know, "Hey, how about you do this?" Or "I want to remind you about that piece." And that's what's super cool about having the two of us super comfortable to be vulnerable with each other, And also your drive sometimes is going to go up and down. And so that's the part that's been cool, that we've been able to help and share of our different personality styles about how we go about drive. So I've appreciated that as well. One of the things that Katie and I both know is that we are both a big give, and we'll get into that a little bit deeper, but we do know, not from an ego perspective, that by any of us getting out there and doing what you're doing and letting people watch, they feel inspired. And so a lot of it for she and I are not at all about we're doing any of this for ourselves. Like, I just want to get up the mountain and I don't care about anybody else. That is not at all either of us. And so we are big on the inspire. And so I don't know if you have any thoughts about how you, first of all, how you feel about inspiring others, or kind of your mindset about inspiring.
Yeah, I think that sometimes people just need a little bit of encouragement to get going. I know I definitely needed some when I first started doing things like this. But I think it is just, like Mom said, being an example for others and putting yourselves out there. I've gotten into running a lot lately. I've ran a couple half marathons so far, and was planning on running a marathon this summer. So we'll see if that still happens. But there's been a couple times where you go running, it might be raining or something like that, and I'll go run out in the rain. And it's those times where you feel like you're an inspiration for other people who might not feel like running that day, or might, make excuses, it's raining and things like that. And so I think it is important to let people see you do the things that you're doing and what drives you every day, just so they can find their own inspiration as well, and not let those little excuses or little bumps in the road get in their way of what they actually want to do.
I think the other thing I really appreciate about Katie and about our family is that we've been willing to be on social media. We've been out there for 10 years. And so my kids have been raised both in my real estate business and in all of this bigger world give stuff we've done, that they're willing to cooperate with me and share. Not that they have to, but like, here's a great example, right? And so for me, the inspire piece is, I know for a lot of people in the world, they don't necessarily have that piece at home or in their life, or have family or people like us who share and do these kind of things. So for me, it might have felt at different times of the kids growing up oversharing. Mm-hmm. However, what I know from the perspective of what I have given and done, it's not so much the front engagement, but it's all the messaging that, excuse me, that I get about how much it's made a difference in people's lives, from literally saving people's lives to you are right now one who's fiercely keeping us going because you're stepping up and leading like this. And really what we're doing is just, this is who we are and what we do. We're just allowing the vulnerability to step to the front of the camera and let you see and show what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. And I think that it's not always like this, and it does get tough sometimes. It probably seems like, oh, we've had it so easy our entire lives and nothing's really been an obstacle for us, or things like that. People you see or look up to, it may seem that way, but there are definitely things that they've gone through in their lives or obstacles that they've had to overcome. And I think it's just the mindset of getting down and doing the work, being gritty. We definitely have examples. My mom works in new construction, so she has plenty of dirty boots.
We are super dirty. I have dirt like every day I've raised the kids. I've had dirt on not just my boots, but my heels and flip flops.
It is a pride thing for us.
It is a pride. It's a super pride thing for us. We are gritty in this family. So yeah, I don't know if you had something else to say about that grit, but here's the deal. So I mean, really, the original grit comes from just even my childhood. So I was born into an incredibly tough situation. Lots of people know my story. Our family has gone through an awful lot of gritty things. And we are also at a place now where we're incredibly proud of that. We have grown ourselves to an amazing place by taking those super hard things and sometimes like totally heartbreaking or whatever. And instead of turning into be 3 kids and a mom, 4 angry people that are, our response was, this isn't who we are. We're going to use this to climb that mountain to who we are. And the pride comes in. We know how to do that stuff. And it doesn't have to all be hard. It's just Katie and I can both tell you, climbing mountains It is the pleasure of the dirt and grit, and I want to quit, and you don't get to, and like flipping tires and all this stuff. Like that, we are two women who that stuff gets us going, and it's not necessarily so usual. However, it feels amazing to be able to push up a mountain when you thought you couldn't quit. You thought you were going to quit. To stand at the top, to cry on the side, because lots of things are an emotional cathartic. Katie loves my word cathartic. I use it all the time. Everything we're doing can be incredibly cathartic to you as a human being and your development and all that kind of stuff. So, and right now, let me tell you, grit's very popular. And so those of us who've got grit, I think that's a great place for us to help lead, because other people are not as comfortable with it.
Yeah. And that's like that card that I found and I gave you. It was about mountain climbing. And it was, you can swear like a pirate, a sailor, you can cry, you can do whatever you want, just as long as you get to the top. It doesn't matter how you get there. You can do whatever you need to do, have your emotions, feelings. As long as you're getting there, you're getting there. That's what matters.
I will never forget when she gave me that card, because she gave it to me at, and I'm going to cry.
Uh-oh.
I was trying not to cry during this broadcast. Nice job.
Oops.
That's okay, because this is good. We're showing you when it's real, right? That card came at a time when I was at my absolute lowest as a parent, and in our life. And so it was my child who said exactly that. And it was the essence of, it just doesn't make a great poster. You can sit on the side and effing cry and spit and whatever else, as long as you don't quit and do it like a pirate. When I felt like I needed to be the mom and,
Perfect image and keep it all together.
and it was amazing. I turned into a fabulous pirate. Yeah. And that's the untamed part, right? But that's a perfect example of soulmate, right? Mountain climbing soulmate, because that card for my child changed my life. And I got up and fought like mama bear, pirate, untamed, wild woman. And it was beautiful, and it totally changed how I thought about a lot of things. So there's a perfect example, both of soulmate, but also a child to a parent of, gosh, we can do this differently, and you don't have to be always the one or whatever. And that was an amazing, beautiful example. And I will always appreciate that and remember that. One of my favorite all-time cards, definitely. So nice job. One of the other things that we want to share with people is Katie and I are both incredibly heart-centered about what we're doing with our work and our dreams and all of that kind of stuff. And so we, both of us, are this piece of, again, we're not just doing it for ourselves. And so I don't know if you want to share, Katie, a little bit about some of your heart-centered pieces that you choose to do in terms of, we'll get into a little bit later, some of your volunteering and cause-driven, but just this whole idea of everybody's watching, and we know it has nothing to do with age or stage or whatever, of kind of what are your thoughts about being heart-centered, about people watching you as you climb your mountains, because you get a lot of feedback. People, Katie gets a lot of, oh my gosh, she's so smart and Katie's so perfect and whatever, right? And she is, but what's at the center of any of that is her not even necessarily wanting people to feel that way about you. Yours is, she's very humble. Yours is very heart-centered about wanting to be able to make a difference and demonstrate and show for those watching. And I don't know if you have any comments about that.
I don't know.
We'll let her think of it
pretty well.
Why does that matter to you? Why does that matter to you personally? See, that's my question.
That's a good one.
Share with everybody.
I think it matters because otherwise people are just individuals floating around doing their thing. And I think at the end of the day, if you're just so focused on yourself, then it really doesn't make a difference in the world. And I think that growing up, watching my mom, I think I've known from when I was little that there was something bigger that I wanted to do, and there was something more, and I could do more because she showed me that I could do more and change the world, you know. And it might seem like you're a small player in the world, but then when you get to it and you show people your heart, you show people that you care about doing things for everyone else around you and yourself, and then I think they take that more to heart, and they can see that you're a genuine person. And I think just energy is such a big part of my being. I just want to be a source of positivity and a source of light for people around me, because I feel like they are impacted by that, and then they can take that in whatever way they choose to, and, you know, bring light to other people around them. I think it is an infectious sort of energy when you share your heart with people, and I think that a lot of people don't maybe care as deeply about others as they used to. I think our generation is very kind of not so much self-centered, but just we're scared to care about other people. We're scared that they're not going to care about us the same way. But I think that if you're doing things your way, if you're putting your heart out there, then at the end of the day, you won. Like, it doesn't matter if people reflect that same energy. And like Mom said earlier, I've been lucky to have people around me that feel the same way and reflect the same sort of energy. But I think, yeah, as long as you put your heart out there, that's the most you can do. And you're living a full life if you're doing that. So that's the way I feel about it.
Sorry, she's choking me up every once in a while, but it's just because I really like the human being she is. And so happy to share that with you today. And the part about the give, like, we aren't in this world by ourselves. There's not a single one of us that are in this world by yourself. And you can have all your accumulations. And if you're sitting there by yourself, I just don't think it feels the same. And so for Katie and I, we've had this conversation a lot because she and I are both big-hearted. And you can get hurt. You can get hurt a lot. But it's the whole trick of learning to be unattached about the love. So we're going to give it. We're going to be heart-centered. We're going to share. We're going to be vulnerable. We're going to help people along the way. Relationships are important to us. And we need to understand we may or may not get it back. That doesn't change what we should be doing or how we're giving or whatever. So another huge piece about being heart-centered for she and I we're both pretty passionate and cause-driven. And so we do that a lot the same, and then a lot of pieces differently. So for me, my passion and cause-driven has changed and developed over time. A lot of mine right now that the kids are all in college and I'm now able to also face and share it with the world, a lot of my pieces, mine have really, by just evolution, come into very social justice driven and very disrupting human behavior for the good of humanity. So I do that from being loud and fierce to soft and loving and all these great things. But those are probably the two that have kind of gotten into my piece. And so here's an example of a mountain climbing dream on the category for me of passion and cause driven. One of my dreams is really for the world to be better for every human that's out here. That's a mountain. That's what I'm climbing. That's what I care about. That's what I can work at till I'm on my last breath. And so those are the kind of things that matter as an overall level. You have a lot that are cause driven. So I don't know if you want to share some of those between your eating choices to Special Olympics to any of the pieces that are cause driven for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as you can tell from back there, Mom's always been a reader. We grew up reading. So one of my most proud things that I did in undergrad was I ran a book club for our club Special Olympics. So we had adults with different abilities. We all came together once a week and we read Peter Pan was our first book. And it was nice to just connect and we'd talk about what we read and we'd do activities afterwards. But that was something I was really passionate about because I think that reading is such a great way for anybody to learn, and it's something that you can connect on. People love to hear stories and talk about stories and how it relates to them. And it's something everybody can do, no matter your ability level. So that was a really great, fulfilling thing for me to do. And then another aspect is at school, I've been a part of a club where we talk about diabetes. We educate schools about healthy eating choices and things of that nature. And we go out in the community for different events. We test different patients for their sugar levels and their A1C, so their sugar over the 3-month period. But we really go out and we make sure we're taking care of our vulnerable populations or populations that are more at risk. So we went to the UW Powwow last year and the Hmong New Year. So we do really try to take care of these certain groups that are more at risk and maybe don't have as many resources to take care of it themselves. So that's something that we really care about, is making sure that everybody has access to the healthcare that they need. So we're trying to do that in pharmacy school, and that's something that I've personally taken a liking to because it connects with a lot of my values. So,
which is awesome. And I think that's a super cool part of Katie, especially just her as a human being, but also to be the healthcare provider that she will. That part I think is super cool, because bedside manner is not a word when you can say heart-centered, you know, and every one of us could be heart-centered about some of the causes and things that we're going to go about doing, which I think is cool. I think that one of the cool things you and I do is this piece of, as a metaphor, we run behind each other, next to each other, and in front of, depending on where we're at on the mountain that we're climbing. And so I think that's a running term and a mountain climbing term that people can kind of understand. I think that piece has made a great big difference to us as we've kind of moved along our path. For me, some of that might look now like my kids are a great encourager when I'm having to learn new technology to do great things like this so that I can get out and help more people. That's why they step up, and I appreciate that. Come on the front. My daughter's on this side. My son's upstairs. And so we are doing some of those kind of pieces. I don't know if you could share something perhaps about ways that people could support on the backside or the front or the middle while we're climbing mountains. You know, that you may be able to do that, anybody watching, for a friend, for a family, for a business person, for a colleague.
Yeah, sure. So at school, we talk a lot about, there's your typical leaders, the people that you know out in front of the pack. They help everybody, kind of tell everybody what to do and that sort of thing. But what we talk about also at school is there's little L leaders. So people that play more of a supportive role, and they might not have a formal title of a leader, but they're just as important as a formal leader, because they take care of the group. They make sure things are running smoothly, and they're more like connection-based sort of things. And so I think playing that little L leader role in other people's lives is very important. And I think people really value when they can see that you are a supporting role in their life and their dreams of whatever they may be. So it is just checking in on people, seeing how they're doing, making sure they're doing all right and stuff like that. Yeah, but a lot of times it is just a text or a call means a lot to people, especially people that you might not have reached out to in a long time, but you want to remake a connection with. It's really easy in our day and age to do that. And especially times like now where you can't see people in person. So it is really just a quick way to show that you care about someone and you want the best for them. And yeah, like my mom said, you might have different times in your life where you're ahead or you're next to somebody or you're behind somebody, just like leading. And I think knowing how to adapt to which role you need to play is an important perception, and some emotional intelligence is involved there as well, of just knowing how to relate with somebody, how to support them.
Said one of my favorite words, emotional intelligence, which has been developed over time, right? And we're all developing really big ones right now. One of the ones that I've gone really deep with, kind of by accident, but it's been amazingly helpful for people on this whole category of pick people up. I've learned to be emotionally intelligent enough that I can have these amazing private conversations. So I have all kinds of people, and the kids are used to it, whether it's in the grocery store or in the parking lot or on the phone, or I go meet them. I collect people who need to talk. And so I've gotten this thing about real conversations. And so I do a ton of that on the backside. There are so many people who've not had that opportunity to just really share what was hard in their life. I have had more things disclosed to me in the past 4 years from all walks of life of, I've never been able to say this to somebody. And as we talk, they will say, oh my gosh, like you are so easy to talk to. And a lot of that is developing this idea of how do I pick people up on the side? I do it in the front in social media as well, but that's a lot of where I've grown my emotional intelligence to be able to pick people up on the mountains they're climbing. And it feels like an amazing gift to be able to give and be for somebody. Obviously, you don't push it on people. I am ever just the open invitation, and then things happen. But that's also just a really cool skill to develop, or something else to think about. Like you had shared, she chose certain things to work on. So emotional intelligence was one she's really worked on in college, which is super cool. I think a super important part before we move on to more fun items is the whole idea of we always have to begin again. I think that's the most important piece. And I don't know if you have any thoughts or stories or things you want to share about yourself beginning again, because you don't quit easily, but we've had a couple times when it's like, every one of us, if we're going to be real, right?
Yeah.
Or to help somebody else just remember to get up again, like just get up again. That's half the trick.
Yeah. My junior year of basketball, I always loved basketball. That was probably one of my first loves. And my junior year, I made varsity team, but I rode the bench for the whole season. And so that was a really defeating year for me because I did love the sport so much. And I'd spent so much time practicing. And I felt like so defeated, just thinking that, I'd never get a chance to play on the court. I wasn't appreciated as a teammate, all that sort of thing. And, it came to the end of the year and there was the decision to be made. And my parents said, we understand if you don't want to play anymore. We understand this was a hard year and, we're not going to be ashamed if you choose not to play anymore. But at the end of the day, it made me want to play so badly. I just loved it so much and I wanted to play. So I spent all of that summer practicing and getting better at the things I needed to get better at. And by senior year, I ended up starting. And so it was just one of those times where you get down and you might feel like you're never gonna see the top of the mountain. You're never gonna be at where you need to be at. But it's just trying to be resilient and pick yourself back up and have other people pick you up too. It's difficult to tell somebody you're struggling with something. It's difficult to say, I don't feel great about this, but it is just picking yourself up at the end of the day and restarting again. And, you're never going to have a chance to be at the top of your mountain or where you want to be at if you don't pick yourself up and try again. So it's just, retrying and keep on going, I guess.
It was the only time in my child's entire life when I told her actually quit.
Yeah.
And she said to me, no, Mom. But this is the most important part about her fabulous story. I, as a parent, will also never forget the absolute joy to just watch my daughter out on the state basketball court her senior year, and a photo of she is so confident and so happy. And that snapshot was what she gave herself when she continued to climb the mountain, which was absolutely amazing. And so that is a phenomenal begin again and continue, and just who she grew herself to be, which is amazing. And I think the other part, let's share a little bit right before we end here, and that is, man, it feels awesome to be a mountain climber. It is not all gritty, dirty, hard, but that part's part of the joy for us. But a lot of it is just triumphant. We have done some of the most amazing things. We have had incredible opportunities. Katie has had so many achievements. I've been able to do, so many incredible things that I never thought I could do in my lifetime. And that's the reason why you also climb the mountain, is that, yes, we have had, resiliency and gritty and all that kind of stuff, but we've also had a lot of triumph. And the triumph isn't always the trophy or the thing. For me, it's very altruistic now. So the triumph is when you can feel like, for me, you've made a difference that is all of a sudden shifting how humanity's talking. Like, that's exciting for me. I don't know what you want to share about the triumphs or your triumphs or helping others enjoy the triumph.
Well, I was just gonna say sometimes I don't really feel like celebrating, you know, if you feel like you didn't get to where you wanted to get, but mom always makes me celebrate.
I'm big on little, you gotta celebrate the little and the big. So
Yeah.
she will like work so hard. And I'm like, can we just, so some of them are like, gosh, you could celebrate by just jamming music in your car and having a banana split or whatever. That is good. And so I tried the whole time they were growing up of just, we need to do the little celebrations. We need to do the pieces, but we also do the big celebrations. And sometimes we forget that part. And so I just think that's really important. I think we certainly want to thank you for showing up for our very first live streaming broadcast. We made it. We didn't crash. Her mom was worried about crashing. Thank you, Julia, for keeping us going. And we just want to let you know we are two people who tremendously care about encouraging people to climb mountains, being soulful about it, being heart-centered, doing the gritty hard workout and all that kind of stuff. I think we both say they could reach out to us, right? So I will put in the show links how to contact Katie as well. And we just want you to have an amazing, awesome day. And we want to highly encourage you to do this amazing mountain climbing thing. And I hope you find some soulmates. And if you don't have one, please be one. Thank you so much. And I will see you on the next one.